Number. Single dad's boss. Came to his door at 2 amperes. M. Then whispered, "Say that again," while looking at me. At 2 in the morning, Archie Lambert heard the pounding. It came in waves, urgent and relentless, against the door of his worn rental apartment. He opened it, still, half asleep, and froze. His boss, Alexandra Farrow, stood in the hallway, drenched from the rain, her face pale as death and her eyes rimmed red. She looked at him like he was the last shore before drowning. Her voice trembled as she spoke. "Earlier, you said you would help me no matter what. Say it again. But look at me when you do." That moment tore open a secret that would change Archie's entire life. Archie Lambert was 33 years old, a man with kind eyes that carried too much exhaustion. He worked the graveyard shift at Farrow Enterprise, a logistics company that kept the city moving while everyone else slept. His wife had left when their daughter was barely 2. Archie had spent 6 years raising Bonnie alone. 6 years of telling himself he was strong enough for both of them. Bonnie Lambert was 8 now, bright and perceptive in the way children become when they grow up watching a parent struggle. She had her father's eyes and a smile that could chase shadows from corners. She never asked why he came home tired. She just made him toast in the mornings and drew pictures of the two of them holding hands. The apartment they shared was small, the kind where you could hear every neighbor's argument. The walls were thin. The heater rattled. But Archie kept it clean. He kept Bonnie's corner filled with books and crayons. He kept going because that was what fathers did. Alexandra Farrow was 31, beautiful in a way that kept people at a distance. Her blonde hair fell in soft waves, always perfect. Her posture was rigid, her gaze sharp. Employees at Farrow Enterprise called her Queen Farrow, though never to her face. She was known for cutting meetings short, for icy silences, for expectations that crushed anyone who fell short. No one knew she slept 3 hours a night. No one knew she kept her brother's watch in her desk drawer. No one knew the coldness was armor she had learned to wear after her brother Clinton died in what everyone called an accident, but what she knew was something else entirely. The relationship between Archie and Alexandra had started like most boss and employee dynamics. She barely noticed him. He kept his head down. Then came the night, 3 months ago, when Archie showed up 2 hours late. Alexandra unleashed her fury on him in front of everyone. He stood there and took it, his jaw tight. Later, reviewing security footage, she saw him running through the parking lot at 6 in the evening, Bonnie limp in his arms. She saw him load her into his ancient truck and speed away. She saw him return. Hours later, his shirt still stained. She called him into her office the next day, ready to fire him. Instead, she asked what happened. He told her Bonnie had an asthma attack. He told her the hospital was 40 minutes away. He told her he was sorry. She did not fire him. Her tone shifted. She started noticing when he covered other shifts. She noticed Bonnie sometimes waited in the break room during weekends, coloring quietly. The little girl always waved at Alexandra when she passed, even though Alexandra never waved back. Bonnie liked Alexandra despite the distance. She told her dad once that Miss Farrow looked sad. Archie had smiled and told her some people just had serious faces. But he had started to wonder too. The city outside was cold that autumn, rain falling in sheets. Farrow Enterprise loomed downtown, a glass tower reflecting storm clouds. Inside, tension was thick. Rumors of internal corruption, of money disappearing, of alliances forming in shadows. Employees whispered about Clinton Farrow's death, about how convenient it had been for certain people. Archie thought Alexandra was untouchable, a woman who lived in a world he could never reach. He had no idea she was about to shatter that illusion at 2 in the morning on a Thursday in October. He had just gotten home from his shift, body aching, mind halfway to sleep. Bonnie was tucked in. He sat on his bed, unlacing his boots, thinking about bills and groceries and Bonnie's school trip he could not afford. Then came the pounding. It was not the knock of a neighbor. It was desperate, frantic, emergency. Archie shot to his feet, adrenaline flooding. He crossed the small living room and threw open the door. Alexandra Farrow stood there, soaked to the bone. Her coat hung heavy with rain, hair plastered to her face. Her eyes were wild, darting past him, checking for threats. Her chest rose and fell too fast. For a moment, neither moved. Archie's brain struggled to catch up. This was his boss. This was Queen Pharaoh. Standing in his doorway, looking like she had run through hell. "You said." Her voice cracked. She swallowed hard. "You said you would help me. 2 weeks ago. In the break room. You said if I ever needed anything, you would help." Archie remembered. It had been a throwaway comment. She had been staring at her phone with an expression that looked like grief. He had said, "If you ever need help, Miss Pharaoh, just let me know." She had looked at him like he had spoken a foreign language, then walked away. "I remember," he said, voice rough from sleep. "Say it again." Her eyes locked onto his, raw fear visible. "Say it again. But look at me when you do. I need to know you mean it." Archie stepped aside. "Come inside. You're freezing." She hesitated only a second before stepping into the small apartment. Water dripped from her coat onto the carpet. She stood in his living room, looking so out of place among second-hand furniture and children's drawings taped to walls. "Sit down," Archie said gently. He grabbed a towel and handed it to her. She took it, but did not move. "Please." She sat on the edge of his couch, gripping the towel like a lifeline. Archie crouched in front of her, voice low, so he would not wake Bonnie. "What happened?" Alexandra looked at him, really looked, and the armor cracked. "Someone is trying to kill me." The words hung between them, stark and impossible. "What?" "Someone is hunting me," she said, voice steadier now but terrified. "I have been followed for weeks. My phone is tapped. My apartment is not safe. I cannot go home. I cannot trust anyone at the company." Archie's mind raced. This sounded insane, but the fear in her eyes was real. "Why would someone want to hurt you?" "Because I am getting too close." She set the towel down, hands clenching. "My brother did not die in an accident. Clinton was killed. And I think I know who did it." Archie had heard about Clinton Pharaoh's death. Everyone had. 6 months ago, the heir to Pharaoh Enterprise crashed his car on a mountain road. The police ruled it an accident. Case closed. "Why do you think it was not an accident?" "Because I found his files." Alexandra's voice dropped to a whisper. "Financial records that do not match official reports. Transactions that should not exist. Evidence that someone was embezzling millions. Clinton found it. He was going to expose them. Then he died." "Did you go to the police?" "With what? Documents that could be dismissed as errors? They would laugh me out of the station." She shook her head. "I started digging on my own. I thought I was careful. But they know. Tonight, I found a camera in my office, hidden in the air vent. Someone has been watching me." "Why come here?" The question came out before Archie could stop it. Alexandra met his gaze, something softening. "Because I do not trust anyone else. Because you are the only person who has looked at me like I am human in the last 6 months. Because when you said you would help, I believed you." Archie felt something shift in his chest. Some locked door opening despite his better judgment. This was insane. This was dangerous. But when he looked at Alexandra, soaked and shaking and terrified, he could not walk away. "I will help you," he said, holding her gaze. "Whatever you need." Her breath hitched. She nodded once, sharp and decisive, like sealing a pact. Then a small voice came from the hallway. "Daddy?" Both turned. Bonnie stood in her doorway, rubbing her eyes, pajamas printed with stars. "Hey, baby," Archie said softly. "It is okay. Go back to bed." But Bonnie was already padding across the room. She stopped in front of Alexandra, tilting her head. "You are Miss Pharaoh. From Daddy's work." "I am. You look sad." Bonnie's small hand touched Alexandra's wet sleeve. "Are you okay?" The question, so simple and sincere, broke something in Alexandra. Her composure crumbled. She looked at this little girl who had no reason to care, and tears welled in her eyes. "I am now," Alexandra whispered. Bonnie wrapped her arms around Alexandra's waist. Alexandra went rigid for a heartbeat, then slowly brought her arms up to return the embrace. She closed her eyes, one tear slipping down her cheek. Archie watched them, throat tight, and realized something irreversible had shifted. He had just invited danger into his home, into his daughter's life. But looking at Alexandra holding Bonnie, at the way hard edges softened, he could not regret it. He did not know yet that the danger was already here. He did not know that while they stood in his living room, someone was watching from shadows outside his building. Archie made coffee while Alexandra sat with Bonnie, answering the child's questions with surprising patience. What was her favorite color? Blue. Did she like pancakes? She was not sure. She had not had them in a long time. Bonnie declared they would have pancakes for breakfast, and Alexandra smiled. By the time Bonnie went back to bed, the rain had slowed. Archie sat across from Alexandra at his small kitchen table, 2 mugs of coffee between them, and asked her to start from the beginning. She told him about Clinton, about how close they had been before their father started grooming Clinton to take over. She told him about the pressure, the expectations. She told him about the night Clinton called, 3 days before he died, his voice urgent. He needed to show her something. He said it was big. He never made it. The files Alexandra found had been hidden in Clinton's desk, tucked inside a book. Numbers that did not add up. Offshore accounts. Payments to shell companies. Someone had been siphoning money from Faro Enterprise for years. "Who do you think it is?" Archie asked. Alexandra's jaw tightened. "Vincent Hale. He is one of the major shareholders. He was close to my father. Close to Clinton. He has access to everything. And he pushed hardest to close the investigation into Clinton's death. What about your father? Does he know?" Something flickered across Alexandra's face. Pain, maybe. "I have not told him. He has been consumed by grief. I did not want to burden him with suspicions until I had proof." Archie nodded slowly. "So, what is the plan?" "I do not know." Alexandra's voice cracked. "I just knew I could not stay in my apartment tonight. I knew someone was watching. And I kept thinking about what you said. I meant it." Archie reached across the table, his hand hovering near hers. "But we need to be smart. If someone really is after you, we need a plan." Alexandra looked at his hand, then up at his face. Slowly, she placed her palm against his. Her skin was cold. "Thank you." They sat like that for a moment, connected by a thread of trust that should not have existed, but did. Then Archie felt it, a prickle on the back of his neck. He stood abruptly, moving to the window, pulling the curtain aside. There. A black sedan, parked 3 spaces down. Windows tinted, engine off. But he could see the faint glow of a phone screen inside. Someone was watching. "Alexandra." His voice was tight. "When you drove here, did anyone follow you?" She stood, moving beside him. When she saw the car, all color drained from her face. "I thought I lost them. We need to leave. Now." He moved fast, grabbing his keys, grabbing Bonnie's jacket. Alexandra was right behind him. Archie went to Bonnie's room and gently shook her awake. "Baby, we need to go on a little trip." Bonnie blinked up at him. "Right now?" "Right now. It is an adventure." He got her dressed in 30 seconds, scooped her up, and carried her toward the door. Alexandra was already there, coat back on, eyes locked on the window. "They have not moved yet," she whispered. "They will." Archie opened the door slowly. The hallway was empty. He carried Bonnie down the stairs, Alexandra close behind, and they emerged from the side entrance. His truck was 20 feet away. The black sedan was 40 feet beyond that, still waiting. They moved quickly but not running. Archie unlocked his truck, got Bonnie into the back seat, buckled her in. Alexandra climbed into the passenger seat, breathing shallow. Archie started the engine. The black sedan's headlights flicked on. "Hold on," Archie said, and he threw the truck into reverse. He shifted into drive and punched the accelerator. Behind them, the sedan moved. Archie took the first left, then a quick right. The sedan followed. He could see it in his rearview mirror, not trying to hide anymore. "Who are they?" he asked, knuckles white on the wheel. "Vincent's men," Alexandra said, voice shaking. "Or whoever he hired." Bonnie was wide awake, eyes huge in the mirror. "Daddy, what is happening?" "It is okay, sweetheart. We are just going for a drive." He took another turn, faster, the truck's suspension groaning. The sedan stayed with them. Archie's mind raced. He could not outrun them forever. He needed to lose them another way. He remembered the service road that led up into the hills, narrow, winding, full of blind corners. If he could get there, maybe he could use the terrain. He took the next 3 turns in rapid succession, running a yellow light that turned red behind him. The sedan blew through without hesitating. Then Archie saw the on-ramp. He merged, pushing the truck fast. The sedan followed, closing the distance. Alexandra gripped the door handle. "There is a turnoff in 2 miles, Archie said. "Service road." "Hold on." He took the exit fast, the truck tilting. The sedan followed, its headlights filling his mirrors. The service road was dark, narrow, climbing into the hills. Trees pressed in on both sides. Archie killed his headlights. "What are you doing?" Alexandra gasped. "Trust me." He knew this road. There was a cutoff half a mile up, an old logging trail barely visible. If he could turn off without them seeing, they might think he kept going. He counted the seconds, eyes adjusting. The moon was out. Just enough light. He slowed slightly, saw the break in the trees, and turned hard. The truck bounced onto the narrow trail, branches scraping the sides. He kept going, 20 feet, 30, then stopped and killed the engine. They sat in silence, all 3 holding their breath. The black sedan roared past on the main road, its headlights sweeping above them. It kept going, climbing higher. Archie waited 2 full minutes before he let himself breathe. Bonnie was crying softly in the back seat. Alexandra had her hand over her mouth. "Are we okay now?" Bonnie whispered. Archie turned, reaching back to squeeze her hand. "We are okay, baby. I promise." But he knew it was not true. They were not okay. They were being hunted, and he had no idea how to stop it. He looked at Alexandra, saw the fear and guilt on her face, and made a decision. "I know a place we can go," he said. "It is about an hour from here. A cabin. It belonged to a friend. No one will find us there." Alexandra nodded, voice small. "I am sorry. I am so sorry." "Stop." Archie's voice was firm but gentle. "You came to me because you needed help. That is not something to apologize for." He started the engine, carefully backing onto the service road. He kept his headlights off until they were back on the highway, heading north, away from the city. Bonnie fell asleep 20 minutes later. Alexandra stared out into the darkness. Archie drove in silence, his mind turning over everything that had happened. His life had been small and simple. Work, Bonnie, bills. He had been managing. Now he had been pulled into something that felt like a movie. Corporate conspiracies. Car chases. A woman who looked at him like he was the only solid thing in a world coming apart. He should have been terrified. He was. But under that fear was something else. Something warm. It was the way Alexandra had held Bonnie. The way she had said, "I believed you." The way she sat beside him now, trusting him to keep her safe when she barely knew him. "Why me?" he asked finally. Alexandra turned. "What? You could have gone to anyone. A lawyer. Someone with resources. Why come to me?" She was quiet for a long moment. Then, softly, "Because everyone else would have asked what I could give them in return. You just asked what I needed." Something in Archie's chest tightened. He kept his eyes on the road. "I am not a hero, Alexandra," he said. "I am just a guy who works night shifts and barely keeps his head above water." "That is not what I see," she replied. The cabin was exactly where he remembered it, tucked into the woods off a dirt road. It belonged to Enoch Rispin, an old friend from before marriage and fatherhood. Enoch had been a cop once, before he retired. They had not spoken in over a year, but Archie knew Enoch would not mind. Archie parked behind the cabin and carried Bonnie inside. The place was small, 2 rooms and a bathroom, but clean and quiet. Firewood stacked by the fireplace, blankets folded on the couch. He settled Bonnie on the couch, tucking a blanket around her. She did not wake. Alexandra stood in the doorway, hugging herself, looking lost. "It is safe here," Archie said. "No one knows about this place. We can figure out our next move in the morning." Alexandra nodded, but she did not move. She just stood there. And Archie realized she was finally crashing. The adrenaline was wearing off. "Sit down," he said gently, guiding her to the chair by the fireplace. "I will make a fire." He knelt by the hearth, stacking wood, striking a match. The flames caught and grew, casting warm light. He sat back on the floor, leaning against the side of the chair. Alexandra stared into the fire. "I have never had anyone stand up for me before," she said quietly. "Not like this." Archie looked up at her. "What about your family?" "My father." She paused. "He loves me, I think, but he loves the company more." Clinton understood that. He learned to live with it. "I never did." "And your mother?" "Dead. 10 years ago. Cancer." Alexandra's voice was flat. "After that, it was just me and Clinton. And Dad. And Dad was always at the office." "You must miss him." Her breath hitched. "Every day. He was the only person who understood. The pressure, the expectations, the loneliness." She looked down at Archie. "I know I am difficult to work with. I know people call me cold. But I learned a long time ago that if you let people in, they leave. Or they die. Or they use you." "Not everyone," Archie said. "How can you be sure?" "Because I am still here." Alexandra stared at him, something shifting behind her eyes. Then, slowly, she reached down and touched his shoulder. Just her hand on his jacket, tentative and brief, but it felt like more. "You are not alone anymore," Archie said. "Whatever happens, you have us now." A tear slipped down Alexandra's cheek. "I do not know how to do this," she admitted. "I do not know how to let people help me." "Then we will figure it out together." They sat like that for a long time, the fire crackling, Bonnie sleeping peacefully. Outside, the night was quiet. Inside, something was building between them, fragile and undeniable. Eventually, Alexandra fell asleep in the chair, her head tilted to the side. Archie stayed on the floor, keeping watch, refusing to sleep. He had promised to keep her safe. He was going to keep that promise. Morning came slowly. Bonnie woke first, confused but not scared. Archie made scrambled eggs with Enoch's stocked supplies, and they ate in quiet companionship. Alexandra was silent, eyes distant, but she smiled when Bonnie asked her to help pick wildflowers outside. Archie watched them through the window, his daughter's small hand in Alexandra's, and felt that warmth in his chest again. Dangerous, foolish. But there. Later, when Bonnie was drawing at the table, Archie sat with Alexandra and the files. She spread them out, showing him the numbers, the discrepancies, the trail that led to Vincent Hale. "We need proof," Archie said. "Something solid enough that the police cannot ignore." "Clinton must have had more," Alexandra replied. "He was too thorough. There has to be something else. Then we need help. Someone we can trust who knows how to navigate this." Archie thought of Enoch. His friend might be retired, but he still had connections. "I have someone," Archie said. "Let me make a call." Enoch answered on the third ring, voice gruff but warm. When Archie explained the situation, there was a long pause. "You are in deep, brother," Enoch said finally. "I know. Can you help? Always. Bring the files to me. But Archie, if this is as big as you are saying, you need to be careful. People do not kill to protect small secrets." "I know." They agreed to meet the next day. Archie hung up and turned to find Alexandra watching him, something unreadable in her expression. "You did not have to do this," she said. "Yes, I did. That night." The cabin was attacked. They had been asleep maybe 2 hours when Archie heard it. A footstep on the porch, too heavy to be an animal. His eyes snapped open, heart racing. He moved silently to the window and peered out. 3 figures moving through the trees. Trying to be quiet, but he could see the shapes, the glint of metal. He turned and grabbed Alexandra, clamping a hand over her mouth before she could scream. Her eyes flew open, wild with panic, but he held her gaze and whispered one word. "Run." She understood. They moved to Bonnie, waking her gently, and Archie carried her to the back door. They slipped out just as the front door crashed open. The woods were dark, the ground uneven. Archie ran with Bonnie in his arms, Alexandra right behind. He could hear shouting from the cabin, furniture being overturned. He led them deeper into the trees, lungs burning, arms aching. Bonnie clung to him, silent and terrified. Alexandra stumbled once, caught herself, kept moving. Then headlights cut through the trees. A truck coming up the road fast. Archie's heart sank until he heard the voice. "Archie, get in." Enoch. Enoch had come early. The truck screeched to a stop, and Enoch threw open the back door. Archie shoved Bonnie and Alexandra inside, then climbed in after them. "Go!" he shouted, and Enoch floored it. Behind them, the men emerged from the woods. But they were too late. Enoch's truck barreled down the dirt road, and within minutes, they were back on the highway, speeding toward the city. Enoch looked at them in the rearview mirror. "What the hell did you get into?" "I will explain everything," Archie said, breathless. "Just get us somewhere safe." Enoch nodded grimly. "I know a place." They drove to a storage facility on the outskirts of town, one Enoch used for overflow from his old cases. He led them inside, to a unit furnished like a small apartment. Spartan, but secure. "No one knows about this except me," Enoch said. "You will be safe here while I work." Over the next 3 days, Enoch dug into Clinton Farrow's death with the tenacity of the cop he used to be. He pulled records, called in favors, traced financial trails. Alexandra provided everything she had, and Enoch started to build a case. But as they worked, a new picture emerged. The trail did not lead only to Vincent Hale. It led further, higher. Enoch sat them down on the 3rd day, his face grim. "You need to see this." He spread out documents, bank statements, communications, and there, at the center of it all, was a name that made Alexandra go pale. George Farrow. Her father. "No," she whispered. "No, that is not possible." But the evidence was there. George Farrow had been embezzling from the company's charitable foundation for years, funneling money into offshore accounts. Clinton had discovered it. Clinton had confronted him, and Clinton had died 3 days later. Vincent Hale had been involved, yes. But he had been a pawn. The real architect, the man who had ordered his own son killed to protect his secrets, was George Farrow. Alexandra broke. She crumpled, hands over her face, body shaking with sobs. "He killed Clinton. Our father killed him." Archie wrapped his arms around her, holding her as she fell apart. Bonnie came over, hugging Alexandra from the other side, and they stayed like that for a long time. "I am sorry," Enoch said quietly. "But now we have enough to take to the authorities. He will pay for what he did." Alexandra looked up, eyes red but fierce. "I want to face him. Before the police take him. I need to hear him say it." Enoch shook his head. "That is too dangerous. I do not care." Alexandra stood, wiping her eyes. "He owes me that much. He owes Clinton that much." Archie saw the determination in her face and knew there was no talking her out of it. "Then, I am coming with you." They arranged the meeting at the Farrow estate, with Enoch waiting nearby. George Farrow agreed, thinking his daughter wanted to talk about the company. He did not know she was coming to destroy him. The estate was massive, cold, and elegant. George met them in his study. A room lined with leather-bound books and portraits. He looked older than Alexandra remembered. His hair grayer. "Alexandra," he said, smiling. "And you brought a friend?" "His name is Archie," she said, voice steady. "And he is the only person in my life who has never lied to me." George's smile faltered. "What is this about?" Alexandra set the documents on his desk. "It is about Clinton. About what you did to him." The blood drained from George's face. He looked at the papers, then at her, and she saw the moment he realized it was over. "You do not understand," he started. "I understand everything." Her voice was ice. "You stole from the foundation. Clinton found out. And you had him killed. It was not supposed to happen like that." George's voice cracked. "I told them to scare him, to make him stop. I never meant for him to die, but you let it happen." Tears streamed down Alexandra's face. "You let them kill your own son to save yourself." George stood, reaching for her. "Alexandra, please. I did it for the family. For you." She stepped back, voice breaking. "You did it for yourself. And now, you are going to pay." Enoch entered then, with 2 police officers. George Farrow was arrested in his own study, led out in handcuffs while his daughter watched. He tried to speak to her one more time, but she turned away. Outside, Alexandra collapsed against Archie, sobbing. He held her, whispering things he did not think she heard. Just being there. "It is over," he said finally. "He cannot hurt you anymore." It took weeks for the dust to settle. George Farrow was charged with embezzlement, conspiracy, and accessory to murder. Vincent Hale and 2 others were arrested as accomplices. The media descended like vultures, but Alexandra refused to speak to them. She focused on rebuilding, and through it all, Archie was there. He went to court hearings with her. He sat with her when she could not sleep. He helped her sort through Clinton's belongings, finding photos and letters that made her cry and laugh. Bonnie stayed close too, her presence a bright light in the darkness. Slowly, Alexandra began to heal. She was not the same woman who had shown up at Archie's door in the rain. She was softer now, more open. She smiled more. She let people in. She let Archie in. 6 months after George's arrest, Alexandra stood in the renovated headquarters of Farrow Enterprise and addressed the board. She announced sweeping changes, new leadership, transparency measures. She fired everyone complicit in her father's crimes. She rebuilt from the ground up, and when she went home at night, it was not to an empty penthouse. It was to a modest house in a good neighborhood, where Archie and Bonnie were waiting. They had not defined what they were to each other. But it did not matter. They were family in the way that mattered. They cooked dinner together. They helped Bonnie with homework. They sat on the couch after Bonnie went to bed and talked about everything and nothing. One night, 8 months after that rainy night at 2 in the morning, Alexandra sat beside Archie and asked the question that had been building. "Will you stay?" she asked quietly. "Not just for now, but for good. You and Bonnie. Will you stay with me?" Archie looked at her, at this woman who had been broken and had learned to trust again. "I told you once that I would help you no matter what. That has not changed." "I am not asking you to help me," she said, eyes shining. "I am asking you to be with me. To build a life together. Is that something you want?" He reached up, cupping her face. "Yes. More than anything." They kissed then, slow and tender, a promise of all the things they had not said. When they pulled apart, Alexandra was crying, but smiling too. "I love you," she whispered. "I love you too." Bonnie started calling Alexandra Mommy Lexi a month later. Alexandra cried when she heard it, overwhelmed by the idea that she could be someone's mother, that she was worthy of that love. But Bonnie made it easy. They moved into a new house together, one with a big backyard and a room for Bonnie that she filled with books and drawings. They became a family in all the ways that mattered. 1 year to the day after that first knock, Alexandra stood outside Archie's old apartment. They had kept it for storage, but tonight she had a different reason for being there. She knocked at 2 in the morning, the same desperate rhythm she had used a year ago. Archie opened the door, confused and half asleep, then saw her standing there, grinning. "What are you doing?" he asked, laughing. "Say it again," she said, eyes sparkling with mischief and love. "Tell me you will help me no matter what. But look at me when you do." Archie pulled her inside, wrapping his arms around her. "I will always help you," he said, holding her gaze. "I will always be here. No matter what." She kissed him, long and deep. And when they broke apart, she was laughing. "I know," she said. "I just wanted to hear it again." They stood there in the doorway of the old apartment, wrapped in each other. And for the first time in a long time, everything felt right. The past was behind them. The future stretched out ahead, uncertain but bright. And at 2 a.m, in a small apartment that had once held only struggle and loneliness, 2 people who had saved each other found their way home.